a Friday baseball edition of the Slate here across the DraftKings channels, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you're finding us. We appreciate it. Adam Kaufman, Steve Buchanan, Matt LaMarca. It is the normal baseball crew, these two guys here at the end of a work week. How you doing, fellas?
Wonderful. So glad to be here on a Friday, as usual.
Well, don't worry. The weekend's right around the corner, Butts. And it's not like you're not going to be playing, baseball contests or placing your bets tonight anyway. Basically, you have to think about this stuff anyway. Why not talk about it for 45 minutes?
It is my job, but I do like doing it Monday through Thursday better.
I guess that's fair. LaMarca, good to see you.
Get off Steve's lawn. I'm great. I am excited to be here. Always excited to be here. Doesn't matter. Monday through Sunday, 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. I'll be here with a smile on my face.
Nice.
What he left out is that he's working literally during all of those hours anyway. So whether he's here or writing an article somewhere else, it doesn't make a difference as long as the checks are clearing.
Yeah, it's either that or I'm sleeping. So if I was sleeping, then I might be upset to be here.
And in his finest LaMarcas, no matter what. Fellas, we have a couple of postponements tonight, games that are not happening. There are games in progress right now, but the main slate, if I'm not mistaken, Bukes, Matty, features 10 games that we are looking at. And as you know, with the two postponements, Steve, there are no more weather concerns tonight that people need to be bothered by.
Yeah, that was the, unfortunately, one of the biggest postponements of the night is the Mets playing in Coors Field, and they were going to be taking on Herman Marquez. So over 5.5 runs for the Mets was the easiest lock of the night. That is no longer the case. We had to get the key out and unlock that lock and put it on something else. We'll talk about that later in the show, but the biggest ramification of the slate, no more Coors Field. The Mets were going to be uber popular, especially with that matchup there. But that was a big blow. Snowing in Denver on May 20th. That is not something that you want to be seeing.
Not right.
Yeah, climate change. It's real.
It's really
anyway,
something.
we can PPD the Mets for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Is that
well,
possible?
Not a bad idea.
Does that line up with a certain pitcher's timetable by any chance?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, you guys are there's some stuff going on in New York right now with injuries, unfortunately. Things were going pretty well before that too.
Yeah,
I mean, they still are, if we're being honest. It's 6 to 8 weeks. The one thing about this Mets team is they have accumulated pretty good depth. So I think they can survive it, given that they already have the largest cushion in their division in all of baseball.
Yeah.
And we have an expanded postseason this year. I do not think this is a death blow for the Mets. Do I feel great about it? No. But I'm used to feeling this way for the Mets, right? This is a team that you can never feel too comfortable about.
Let's be honest, too. I mean, the rest of the division mostly stinks, right?
Everybody's under 500.
Washington rumored to be getting rid of Juan Soto. They might actually trade him, which is absolutely asinine. Like, I don't care how much of a rebuild you need. That's the cherry. Like, that's the guy you want to build around, not get rid of. I mean, granted, they'll get like 19 prospects in return.
I'll trade the Mets' entire farm system for him. I don't have that authority, but I'll make it happen.
Any farm system you trade for Juan Soto. The only real competition for the Mets at this point is the Phillies. And like you mentioned, they're under 500 too. They're 2 games under 500, 7 games back right now. So the Mets, while you don't want to lose somebody of Scherzer's caliber when you're already down to Grom, they are one of the teams that can afford a little bit of a slide because of the cushion that they have.
And my guy Tyler McGill, don't forget about that. He's on the shelf as well.
You know what? You got Chris Bassett though.
We do have the Bassett Hound. Carlos Carrasco has pitched well. Even like why am I blanking on his name? Trevor Williams gave us 4 quality innings the other day. So
yeah, that's not going to last.
I'm cautiously optimistic, Steve.
Yeah, don't be optimistic about Williams.
We were just chatting off the air, and Bukes, you mentioned that you are coming off of your best DFS night ever. You went north of 200 points for baseball. So congrats to you, obviously. But that means we need to start with you. You need to tell us where we need to go. Where should we be looking tonight in the world of daily fantasy?
Oh, I mean, I'm absolutely going to score 20 total points tonight now. I mean, that's how it goes. So, I'm probably the worst person to get that advice from. I will say one of the more surprising stacks that is not getting a lot of talk tonight is the Padres going up against the Giants and Jacob Junis. Like, Jacob Junis was somebody when he was on the Royals, like you would immediately be stacking the other team. But here's the thing. Here's where the smoke and mirrors come in, right? Jacob Junis comes into this game. He's got a sparkling ERA under 2. It's like, wow, this guy's been pretty good. Maybe something's in the water with the Giants. They did it with Kevin Gossman. Maybe they can do it with Jacob Junis. You look at his ERA, I think it's 1.74. Then you look at his expected ERA. It's almost 4.5. All right. That tells you everything you need to know. And of the matchups that he's pitched, he's faced like the Cardinals, the Athletics, the Nationals. Like, talk about a cupcake schedule to start your career with a new team. Now you're going to face the Padres, who, by the way, also have a 3.5 run total tonight. Go take the over on that one. Because even if Junis continues like this fake identity of being good, the Giants bullpen, according to at least ERA, have been the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball through the month of May. So even if they're not going to go over 3.5 runs against Junis, they almost most certainly will do it against the Giants bullpen. So on a huge slate like this, not the Mariners. I'm always thinking about the Mariners. They're in Boston, so forgive me. But the Padres just not getting enough love tonight. This is a great matchup against them. They should smack Junis tonight.
Any alternative stacks or pitchers you really like? Anything like that, LaMarca?
It's a really weird slate. The pitching options weren't great to begin with. And now you remove Nestor Cortez, who I hope you listened to us a few weeks ago when we told you grab a Cy Young ticket on him at 50-1. That guy's been incredible. But you take him out of the equation, and here are your most expensive pitchers on the slate. Eric Lauer, Sean Manaea, Tariq Skubal,
oh boy,
Julio Urias, and Christian Javier. That's not exactly the most faith-inspiring group of pitchers we've seen here. Manaea is going to be the most popular of that group. He has been very good for the Padres this year. He's actually striking out almost 10.5 batters per 9 inning. That's the best mark of his career. But I kind of like Skubal here. I think Skubal, you look at him, he's somebody who was considered a pretty good pitching prospect at one point in his career. And he has kind of put it together this season. 2.50 ERA, 2.37 xERA, and also over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. So you look at him, he's taking on the Guardians. The Guardians don't strike out a ton, but they also don't hit the ball very well. So I think this is a spot where Skubal at lower ownership than Manaea, he's the guy that I'm looking to pay up for at pitcher.
To your point, roughly 90 minutes or so away from lock, Sean Manaea, looking at ownership projections, far and away the highest projected owned player tonight. Would you like to hazard a guess on that percentage?
I'm going to say 35%.
Right on the nose. 34.9. 34.9, which is about 10% higher than another one of the guys LaMarca mentioned, Christian Javier, Eric Lauer, and Robbie Ray, both in that same vicinity as well. Bukes, I don't know if I should, do I say your former guy, Robbie Ray, because of the Cy Young ticket, current guy because he's a Mariner now? I don't know how to feel about how you feel about Robbie Ray, because he kind of stinks at the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
he's heating up a little.
He is heating up. The velocity's coming back up. But I mean, talk about putting me in a pretzel. I got the guy that made me the most money on any bet that I've ever made. He's on the Seattle Mariners, but he's going against my, all-time team in the Boston Red Sox. What am I supposed to do here? I just stay away from it altogether. Ray has has struggled so far this season, but the velocity continues to go up. That's a sign you want to see. You don't want to see the velocity going down as the season progresses. So I just think, maybe he was one of those victims of the shortened spring training, just wasn't ready for the first month or so, but he's definitely been turning it around. That being said, this Red Sox team, at least over the past week, has been one of the hottest offenses in all of baseball. That is not a matchup I'm looking to target. So to hear that Robbie Ray is one of the more highly projected pitchers tonight, boy, is that a tournament fade for me, because if he's going to be getting a lot of ownership tonight, especially going against that offense, that, maybe it would pain me to do so, because Robbie Ray can do no wrong in my eyes anymore. But stacking the Red Sox tonight might be the play, one of the plays for tournaments, especially if that ownership is going to be so high. And just a quick note on Manaea too. I get the ownership has shifted because of the postponements that we've had. It's not like this is a great matchup for Manaea either. I wouldn't say that the Giants are exactly a rollover offense, especially against lefties. They have some of the highest power numbers against lefties this season. So with that in mind, I know Manaea can rack up the strikeouts. The Giants are about league average against lefties in that realm, but I wouldn't say this is a great matchup for Manaea either. I think LaMarca was right. Skubal actually might be the most attractive guy in that realm. The four highest price.
Yeah, for the Skubal.
For what it's worth, though, to your point about Manaea, again, looking at just some of the projections and whatnot, as far as optimal builds go tonight, Manaea, despite that ownership, is actually not part of them. It's Christian Javier and Robbie Ray.
Yeah, see, I really don't want either. I don't really want either guy.
Like I said, it is a weak slate for pitchers. It is a weak slate. There are a lot of guys in that like 7 to 8K type range that I think have some interest, right? Like Michael Wacha, right?
Yeah.
He's coming off of the IL. He's been on the shelf for about 2 weeks. He'll get the ball for Boston. He's 7,400. He's been great to start the year. I think he is kind of an interesting tournament option. You mentioned Junis. I know that historically Jacob Junis has been terrible, but think about it this way. Sean Manaea is going to be the most popular pitcher on the slate. Sean Manaea is an underdog to Jacob Junis tonight.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it?
No.
Right? Like if we have the Giants listed as favorites, that gives Junis better Vegas data. So, and then of course, Chase Silseth, the biggest question mark on the slate. He's made just one start at the major league level, one start above AA even. It seemed like he skipped AAA all entirely. But he's facing Oakland, who I'm pretty sure Kaufman could give us 6 quality innings against Oakland these days. So.
Well, as far as Wacha goes, to your point, as far as just, potential tournament play, guys projected to be owned in half of 1%. That is how popular Michael Wacha expects to be tonight, roughly. So we'll see. But, Bukes, you brought up Boston as a potential stack option against Sean Manaea or Robbie Ray rather. And understandably, obviously, with, what he's done most of this year, especially just the recency bias of the Boston offense. You've got Rafael Devers been hot all year. JD Martinez has been really good. Xander Bogaerts been really good. You had Trevor Story do what he did last night, with the 3 homers, 7 RBI, and he's come on anyway a little bit of late. It's not just those guys. It's certainly an alternative approach to your conventional stacks for tonight. But, do you believe in what you're seeing from Boston? This team's won 5 out of 7, but the offense has been the thing that got them in the hole they're in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at the advanced stats for the Red Sox when they were going through that horrific slump where they just were struggling to score more than 2 runs, like they were top 5 in the league in hard hit rate. They were top 5 in the league and expecting batting average. So basically what that tells you is, they're barreling these balls, but they're just hitting them right at people. And that breakthrough was going to come through at one point. The Chicago White Sox, everything to do, all teams with Sox are having this issue. Apparently the Chicago White Sox are another team. Like they have some of the hardest hit balls in the league, but they also have some of the worst offensive numbers in the league. Something is going to break their way at some point. And now this is finally happening for the Red Sox. And the other thing about Robbie Ray too, and this even happened last year when he won the Cy Young, home runs are always an issue for Robbie Ray. He gives up a ton of home runs. If you're giving up a ton of home runs, Fenway Park is not exactly the ballpark you want to be throwing the ball in. So with the way that they're hitting right now, with the way that how good contact they're making, I just don't see this as a great spot for Ray. We mentioned his numbers are getting better, but they are still down overall in the season. So I just think the Red Sox are a nice stack tonight with how this offense is going right now. And if Ray is going to be one of the more popular options, you're going to get great ownership numbers on the Red Sox tonight.
LaMarca, what else jumps out at you tonight? We've been kind of bouncing around a little bit in the world of DFS. Is there a game in particular you have your eye on?
I like the Rays offense tonight going up against Baltimore. They're taking on Tyler Wells, pretty much the definition of a mediocre pitcher. He's got a mid-4s ERA, a low 6s K per 9. I think that they're a nice, they're kind of being overlooked in my opinion, given the matchup, their implied team total, etc. I think the most interesting team today, and I know Steve's going to kill me for this, but Oakland is kind of intriguing, right? You've got this guy Silseth, who I just mentioned, he's made one start above AA in his whole career. It happened to be against this Oakland team, and he pitched well. But you want to talk about a way to get some leverage on the field. there are going to be a ton of DFS players tonight who are going to play Silseth, and you can stack the A's for free.
Oh,
DraftKings is basically just giving you their Oakland A's for free today if you want them.
Yeah.
Is that a special promotion? Was that on the website?
Use promo code BIGSAXY at sign up, and you can get the A's top stack for under $15K on DraftKings. It's a steal. It's a bargain.
Now, here's the only rebuttal I'll have to that. If we talk, well, I mean, that's part of it. But if we said this 5 hours ago, before like Nestor was off the slate, sure. So you stack the A's, hope you get lightning in a bottle, and then you get the good production from good pitching. There are no good pitching that you can pay up for. This is not a slate that has like Scherzer and Nestor and all that you pay up for. So it's like you can get two absolute studs in your lineup. Because what's going to happen is you're going to stack Oakland. You're going to jam in a couple of pitchers that you probably don't even need to pay up for.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you got like 4K left over. You're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this 4K? Nothing, you know? And I'm not talking about the definition of your television. I'm talking about your remaining salary that you have left over. So that's the only issue. Are you going to be different from the rest of the field? Hell yes, you are, because you're leaving 25% of your salary on the board, right? But at the same time, it's like, I like LaMarcus thinking if there was all these stud pitchers I could pay up for. When it comes to this slate, it doesn't make a ton of sense. And it's almost like you're getting too cute on a slate where you really probably don't even need to do so. So that would be my only gripe.
You're probably right. I like that option a lot more when Nasty Nestor was an option. I mean, if you do it today, you're probably going with like Manaya and Scooble. And you're right. That's not enough pitching to justify it.
And it's like you're taking Manaya because you're almost forcing yourself because you have so much left over. Whereas on a normal basis, you're not really necessarily going out of your way to take Manaya tonight.
Do you have a general rule of thumb that you stick to a baseline? I'm not going to spend less than X. Like no matter what this lineup looks like, no matter what seems to make sense analytically, I'm not going to spend below, 49. I'm not going to leave more than $1,000 on the table.
See, I think people get caught up with that too much. And I think that really kind of speaks to when people are making football lineups, most importantly. Because like at the end of the day, like, yes, like I have this salary that I can play with. I don't want to leave too much on the board, but especially like when football comes around and we have these unbelievably massive fields, right? There's so many opportunities where I think people just overanalyze the salary and not necessarily the matchup in the player. So it's like, oh, well, I have, 1,500 left over. I have to do something else, when in reality, you just made maybe, the perfect build that you felt that way. But now it's like you have all the salary left over. Well, now I got to change something. I can't have all this salary left over. When in reality, if that's how everybody else is thinking, then you are absolutely differentiating yourself from the rest of the field. So granted, you don't want to leave a ton of salary because you look at that and you go, well, that's not right. But if like, for me, it's like, if those are the plays and that's what makes sense, then I'm okay with leaving a bunch of salary if that's just how it ends up being. Because if I truly feel that through my research, these are the teams to stack, these are the pitchers to use tonight, and that's how it is, then whatever. If I have a ton of salary left over, that's fine. Because I think the whole salary thing just kind of gets in people's head, and then they start questioning what they're doing because they have salary left over. This is just based on the DraftKings algorithm. This has nothing to do with how they're going to perform on the field.
LaMarca, in line with that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, baseball is all about correlation. You want to build the most correlated teams possible, and you want to do it in a way that is differentiating yourself from the field. As long as you do that, you don't really have to worry about ownership. So you shouldn't really be thinking about, do I need to leave salary on the table to be contrarian? You should just be playing the best teams at that point, right? If you're already going through a process that's going to put you on diversified lineups, you're set. You don't really need to do anything further than that.
In the spirit of correlation, and obviously we spent a lot of time talking about offenses to target and stacks and whatnot. And we were talking about the Boston-Seattle game from a Red Sox perspective, looking at some optimal lineups right now. Really heavy on Seattle guys. I mentioned Robbie Ray before, obviously, but Cal Raleigh, Ty Franco, or France rather, Adam Frazier, Julio Rodriguez, all these guys showing up in a single build. I mean, how do you feel about putting that much attention from, never mind one game, one team, LaMarca, into a single lineup?
I mean, are we talking about a cash game lineup? To me, Seattle is not the type of team that I'm looking to use today, right? They are projected to carry pretty significant ownership against Michael Wacha. So that kind of just eliminates them from the process for me, right? Baseball is a sport where there is so much variance that you should almost just never be playing the chalk. There are very few situations where I will play the most popular lineup, and I'll never do it outside of Coors Field. So if you're going to tell me that everyone is playing Seattle tonight, cool. I'll go play a different team. Mm-hmm. And if my team does better than yours, I'm going to jump up the lineup. That's just how baseball works. There's so much variance. The best players have nights with 0 hits all the time. You really need to be conditioning yourself to think about ownership more than anything else when it comes to baseball, because that's the name of the game. It's a sport that's very hard to predict over the course of a 1-game sample size. If you want to talk 162 game sample, then it becomes one of the easier sports to predict. But night to night, it is very highly volatile.
You got anything to add to that?
I think Seattle is just popping so much because all of these guys are affordable. Like, you want to talk about a cheap stack, like Seattle is one of those stacks that is extremely affordable. You have nobody in that lineup tonight that is more than 4,100. I'm sorry, 4,200. That's extremely cheap because a lot of these guys in Seattle's lineup have underperformed. Jesse Winker is a great example of that, as somebody that just has not been performing well relative to their expectations. So their salaries have fallen. But you have Jesse Winker hitting 31 at 3,100 tonight, batting 5th. You have Julio Rodriguez, 3,200, can swipe a bag, can put up a lot of points. He's batting cleanup. He's 3,200. This is a very affordable team. And statistically, Michael Wacha has not been an effective pitcher. Has he so far this year? Yes, he's been great. But in the past, especially against lefties, and there's a lot of them in the Seattle lineup, that's kind of been his kryptonite. So I think that's a lot of the reason why Seattle is popping off tonight. But I agree with LaMarca and the sentiment that he has. For me, I think that's a team to stay away from, especially in tournaments. But there are a lot of guys that you can like plug and play throughout the lineup because of how affordable they are. And the Red Sox bullpen has been a disaster. There's that too.
But Wacha.
Right. Totally. That put that in your projections, please.
We've been pretty fixated on DFS, but with about, I don't know.
Can I just throw out one more guy? I just want to throw out one more guy.
By all means, yeah.
Luis Castillo going for the Blue Jays tonight is not going to be looked at all. I know, totally. But here is where it gets interesting. The perception of Toronto has not changed, I feel like, since opening day. This lineup is loaded. This team is going places. We are being set up for one of the most overrated teams in baseball right now with how this team is performing. In the month of May, the Toronto Blue Jays have scored more runs than only 3 other teams in the league. Those teams are the Tigers, Pirates, and Athletics. Those are the only teams that the Blue Jays have scored more runs than during the entire month of May. Their isolated power for the month of May is at 107. Their WRC plus is at 79. And they're striking out overall about 22% of the time. This team is not hitting at all right now. And the scariest thing is the guys in the top of the lineup are getting on base. With men in scoring position this season, the 6 through 9 hitters on the Blue Jays are hitting 174. So these guys are getting on base. They're not knocking them in. So I look at somebody like Luis Castillo, who is in the 6K range, has shown strikeout upside all throughout his career, working his way back. That to me is one of the more appealing tournament pitchers tonight because nobody wants to play anybody against the Blue Jays. But if you actually look at the numbers, the Blue Jays have been horrific in the month of May and is showing no signs of turning around at this point.
The only thing I'll say is that I think people are a bit more hip to the Blue Jays struggles than you realize. And I think people are going to play Castillo tonight, not overwhelmingly, but I think he'll check in maybe 10% ownership. And I think if you're playing a guy like Castillo against the Blue Jays, you're kind of playing with fire a little bit. Like, again, on tonight's slate, that might fall under my Astros or my A's stack philosophy of just getting a little bit too
13% projected at this moment, but obviously that can change. Bukes, you still a BVP guy, or do you just look at, trends, opportunity, all sorts of other, things that are probably more significant than historical data between a batter and pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, that was just a shtick that ran its course, if we're being totally honest.
The truth finally comes out.
It took time. The t-shirt's been retired.
Yep, it has. But
that in the closet with the Kaufman doesn't follow me on Twitter t-shirt. Never to
that
be
is also there too. Yep.
Yeah, as it should be, because I do now. All right, let's go from DFS over to the DK Sportsbook, guys, because any opportunity we have to show people the DK Sportsbook on our screen and theirs, then we're going to take it. Like I mentioned, a 10-gamer tonight. Bukes, because Fridays are among the days that you appear on MLB Network. What are the Bukes plays of the day, or whatever fun, catchy name that segment has?
Yeah, one of the plays I liked a lot was in the Dodgers and Phillies game. You can get both teams to score at least 3 runs. You can get that at minus 135 tonight. I like that play a lot. I kind of like playing that bet a lot lately, especially with games where I'm not convinced that the game's going to go over, but obviously I think there's going to be some run scores in this game. You got Julio Urias going up against Ranger Suarez. Urias has been getting knocked around lately.
Had a rough season.
Yeah, to last 2 starts. One of them was against the Phillies, the other against the Pirates. 5 home runs through 12 innings, 10 runs totals, 19 hits. Guy is just getting clobbered. Now they're playing in Philly, a much better hitter-friendly ballpark than obviously being in LA. The last 2 starts for Urias were in LA. And then you got Ranger Suarez. We talk about, teams that might be overrated at this point with the Blue Jays. The Dodgers lineup certainly is not. Suarez has not gotten off to the start that he has last year. So I think getting both teams to score at least 3 runs, like I said, getting that at minus 135, kind of different way to play the over under is kind of how I look at that. But I do like that play a lot. I think that's one of the plays you can consider for tonight.
What else was on the list?
The Mets game that was rained out, so that doesn't matter anymore.
Sure.
And then the Padres to go over 3.5 runs. The Padres just seem mispriced all around. Being the underdogs, the team total at 3.5 for a bad pitcher taking the mound and one of the worst bullpens in the league this month. I don't get how the Padres are not going to go over 3.5 runs. I know they had a tough series against the Phillies where they struggled to hit, but aside from that series, everything has been kosher since then. So I just don't, I don't feel like I feel like the Padres are vastly underpriced tonight. 3.5 runs. I mean, that's one of my favorite plays to go over that at minus 125. That's too low. That's too low for them.
Lamarca, I allowed what's coming after May, Steve? Say again?
June? You know what's coming after May, Steve?
I hope it's June.
Junus.
So stupid.
Do go on. Right. Tell us more.
That's right, it. Though. Just a little dad joke.
All right. So we got, listen, I love your dad jokes. I especially love your dad's dad jokes. We've got, we've got Bukes picks, Lamarck. I allowed him to go first, not only because of the MLB Network segment, but also as a stall tactic to allow you to find some of your favorites. So what stands out to you on the DK Sportsbook?
Well, I respect that. I respect that a lot, Mr. Kaufman.
Sure.
I'm looking at this game between the Royals and the Twins. You've got some questionable pitching options on both sides. The Twins will be turning to Devin Smeltzer to make his second start of the season. The Royals have Daniel Lynch on the mound. And no, that's not an investment banker. It's a major league pitcher. He's actually been okay this season. 3.30 ERA, 3.97 xERA. He's striking out right around a batter per inning. Smeltzer is a guy that I'll be honest, I really haven't thought much about him since 2019. That was really the last time we saw him consistently in the major leagues. Other than that, he's kind of just been bouncing around the minors. I think the Royals can get to him in this matchup. I will take the Kansas City Royals plus 115 on the money line. I think that it's a good spot to target them as home dogs.
I'm looking at among these games tonight, again, all part of we don't need to worry about just the main slate, obviously, when looking at the DK Sportsbook. So Cardinals, Pirates, 9, Dodgers, Phillies, obviously Bukes was talking about. That's at 9. Mariners, Red Sox, we spent a lot of time on. Same thing. Tigers, Guardians as well. There's a whole bunch at 8, 8.5, some 7.5s in there. If you had to, I guess, Lamarcus, staying with you, if you had to identify a game that you feel most confident will hit the over tonight, what would it be?
Most confident going on the over. Can I take the Diamondbacks and the Cubs? That game has 15 runs scored so far. I feel pretty good.
It'd be a little late to put the money on it, but you could do it. Sure.
All right. How about I'm going to go to that Red Sox Mariners game over 9 runs. I am not really all that afraid of Robbie Ray at this point. The strikeout numbers have picked back up over the last 2 starts, but this Red Sox offense is hot. I think they can get to him. And while I do think that Michael Wacha has some appeal as just a really low-owned contrarian DFS dart throw, it's not going to shock me if the Mariners score some runs off of him tonight. So the fact that total is up to 9 runs, I think also suggests that there has been some sharp activity on that side. This line opened at 8.5. So I'm going to take over 9 runs, Mariners and the Sox.
Bukes, we got what seemed to be a nod of approval from you. You just agree with the take, or is there another game that you like better here?
No, I'm okay with that. I'll actually give you a game that I feel confident is going under.
Okay.
That's the Reds and Blue Jays at 8 runs. Ideally, you'd like to get this at 8.5 if you could, but the Blue Jays have been one of the worst teams in the league at hitting the over on their game total this season. Granted, that's been the case for most of these teams. They're not hitting the over, but that's been changing over the past few weeks. I just don't see a lot of runs in this one with the way the Blue Jays have been hitting. I think this is a good spot for Luis Castillo. So when you kind of put that together, again, ideally, if you can get this at 8.5, that's where we want to get that. But I think under 8 runs is a pretty fair number for the Reds and Blue Jays. I don't think they're going to be scoring a ton tonight because the Blue Jays haven't been scoring much at all in the entire month of May. So I think that's a good spot to go under.
We've got about 10 minutes, maybe a little less left in the show. And maybe we'll mix in some NBA at the end with Lamarca here.
I want to know. I want to talk basketball, Kaufman.
All right, then we'll make sure we get basketball in before we get out of here. But as you guys know, and any viewers of this show, the tens of you out there, you know as well, on Fridays, I like to revisit what's going on in baseball futures and how that changes week to week. And it's been a couple weeks since we've done it. Dodgers, to no surprise, guys, are the World Series pick right now, plus 450 on the DK Sportsbook, followed closely by the Yankees, the Astros, Lamarcus Mets, despite all the pitching injuries. Blue Jays, even though it seems like everyone believes they're a fraud, everyone here in this particular Zoom chat anyway. So is there someone in that top 5 that you think is at a good number, Bukes, or is there a team with longer odds that's a better investment to you?
I mean, I don't think this has really changed much since we talked about this last week. This all looks pretty much the same. I'd like to actually target the Mets if they do drop a little bit with Scherzer out and that they go on a little bit of a skid. I think that'd be a great spot to get them back. I mean, for a team that realistically in the playoffs could have DeGrom, Scherzer, maybe Bassett, and then McGill, if it goes to a 7-game series, if they make it that far, that's a damn good rotation. And then how good that offense has been. So 8-1 is fine. I have no issues if you take it now, but with the likely regression that this team is going to hit over the next few weeks, this could basically fall back to double digits. That's a very, very good number to get them at. So I would be looking at that, watching that to see if they do fall a little bit in the odds. And I think that is going to come over the next few weeks.
What do you say there, Matty?
I think Steve makes a good point. I would probably be looking to target the Mets if they fall below 10-1. That's kind of what the number that I think would make sense to me. As for me, like, I'm going to continue to sound like a broken record The Yankees are the best team in baseball. They do not have the shortest odds to win the World Series. That seems like a pretty obvious mistake in my eyes. So the gap between the Dodgers and Yankees continues to shrink by the week. It will not shock me if the Yankees eventually pass the Dodgers. That's how good they have been this season. So I think you can still grab them at plus 550, and that's a pretty nice value. If you're looking for a longer shot, I will say that the Cardinals at 35-1 makes some sense to me. And I only know this really because my team just played them on a 4-game series. But despite their record being kind of meh, they have a pretty fearsome lineup. They, especially with the resurgence of Albert Pujols this year, I don't know if they have enough starting pitching, but their bullpen has been great. Paul Goldschmidt has been red hot. Nolan Arenado started the year red hot. This team is going to move up this leaderboard eventually. That's my take. I don't think the Cardinals close the year at 35-1 to win the World Series. I think they're going to get into the playoffs, and when that happens, 35-1 will look like a pretty nice value.
And they just brought up their top prospect today, Nolan Gorman. So that's
there you go, Bukes. I know you've been waiting for the Gormy.
Oh man, I love Gorman. I am so excited that he's up in there. I'll tell you right now. I know baseball has a identity issue. There are so many good rookies this year that there's going to be a lot of noise made soon, but it is just flushed with really talented rookies right now. It's a good time for baseball, but a lot of people don't know that.
Let's mix in a few minutes of basketball before we get out of here. Bukes, feel free to chime in or just sit there and look pretty. It's up to you.
Or
but
leave if you want.
I know you want to.
Right?
You want to get it.
Just leave.
No, hang out with us. We just like looking at you. Again, obviously, you got the Celtics and the Heat. They're now a best of 5 after Boston's blowout win in Miami last night. Tonight, you got the continuation in the West. Dallas and Golden State. Warriors won game 1 going away. That series is still in the Bay Area. It's a 9:00 start, so we're still hours away. Which series do you want to start with? You're the guy that came in hot on this one.
I want to talk about the Celtics. I want you to look me in the eyes and tell me I've already punched Boston's ticket to the NBA Finals. Be honest.
Without a doubt, I have.
I'm telling you, they won that game 2 last night. Big Al's back. Marcus is back. You got
Buddy, I said after game 1 when they had that horrendous third quarter and lost the game, I said the Celtics are going to win this series. The Celtics are so very obviously the better team.
Yes, I think I agree with that. I mean, Jimmy Butler always, I realize that I always overlook Jimmy Butler because every playoffs I'm amazed at some of the stuff that guy does. But the Celtics are going to win that series. The problem is that the sports books finally realize what I have known since the start of the postseason, which is that the Warriors are the best team in basketball right now. And, certainly Phoenix losing helped their cause. But when this team has been healthy this year, they have been a wagon, to use a Kaufman term. Or is that a Glass term? One of you guys,
we probably both use it.
One of you guys really likes the term wagon.
It's obviously a Syracuse term. We'll give it to that.
But with a healthy Draymond and Steph Curry, I don't see this team losing the title at this point. I feel that confident. Maybe the Celtics can give them a scare. But I think they will clearly be the biggest test that the Celtics have faced this postseason, right? They've beaten some great players. They took out Giannis. They took out Kevin Durant. They have not seen a team like the Warriors yet.
Correct. I agree with you. So, I mean, are you, and obviously the sports books have already done this as well. I mean, if anyone wanted to place a bet right now on the most likely finals matchup, it is, far and away Celtics and Warriors. Is that your expectation? Is this conference final round a formality to you?
I'm not going to say a formality in the East. Again, I feel like Miami has been kind of disrespected all year. I mean, they won the East, for crying out loud. They had the most wins in the conference. And it seems like no one has really given them their due. I think that they can go up to Boston and split, and then it makes it a best of 3 series, and anything can happen at that point. On the other side, again, I think the Warriors are going to just breeze through the Mavs. I'm not saying it's going to be a sweep, but I think 5 games is probably the most likely outcome in my eyes. And certainly they'll get it done before it has to go to a game 7, would be my guess.
Well, if anyone's in Boston, in the Boston area anyway, our pal Julian Edlow's sitting around on Twitter trying to sell tickets to games of the Garden. So feel free to hop on. He's offering you deals. He's not even going as high as he could on the secondary market.
What a loser.
He's still going well above face, though.
Just go to the game. Like, what a loser.
Trying
That's
to
a
pay
pro
for all
move,
the season
Steve.
tickets
Get
with
yourself-
one fell swoop.
You get yourself a media pass and you sell your season tickets.
Yep.
That's the move right there.
I'm actually, I might rat him out to the Celtics.
I
have
mean, again,
contact.
he's on Twitter doing it.
Yeah,
No big
I'll tag them in the FBI. We'll just get to the bottom of this.
We'll see what ends up happening tonight. Should be fun. I hope. I just hope Dallas finds a way to. I know Dallas isn't going to win the series. I agree with everything LaMarcus said. I hope the Mavericks and Luka in particular just find a way to at least put up a fight. Maybe they're a little bit drained from knocking out Phoenix, which not a lot of people saw happening, obviously. But it'd be nice if we got a little bit of a series. Not something even more than like a gentleman's sweep. And I'm not even so sure Dallas is going to take a game.
Off one more real quick point.
Yeah.
I think that the Warriors making the decision to start Kevon Looney, and by the Warriors, I mean literally the Warriors, not the coaching staff. Draymond Green and Steph Curry told Mike Brown, "You're starting Kevon Looney tonight," and he said, "Okay." And
he doesn't care. He's already in Sacramento, man.
And I think that's a big deal for this Warriors team, right? Like, do they sacrifice a little bit offensively with that switch? Of course, but the defense and rebounding has already paid just massive dividends. I mean, that game 6 against Milwaukee, what did he have? 22 boards, 24 boards, something like that. So I think putting him back in the starting lineup, he'll stay there for the rest of the playoffs. And it's going to help this Warriors team.
That reminds me, actually, so I wish I could remember who. I'd pull it up, but somebody sent a tweet after that game and said, like, top young players in the NBA right now by age. And it was like 24 Jason Tatum, 25 Luka Doncic, 26 Kevon Looney, 27 Giannis Antetokounmpo. Oh, it's a wonderful thing.
Let's not go that far for Kevon.
No, let's not. But that was the beauty of the tweet. All right, we're gonna say goodbye to you. But it was a lot of fun talking baseball and a little bit of hoops here at the end on a workman-like Friday to round out your work week, unless of course you're still working over the weekend, like LaMarca, every hour of every single day. Our producer, Eamon, our technical director, undercover boss Tom, T Pike, Mr. Positive, call him whatever you want. He will answer to any of those things. For Matt LaMarca, Steve Buchanan, I'm Adam Kaufman. Happy betting tonight, folks. Enjoy. We'll see you later.